Hello, everyone, and welcome. I have with me today Wade Sharp. You are the superintendent of the City of Dublin Natural Gas Department. And let me tell you, we've been working together, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks talking, and you've been educating me, and we're in the brain nerve, I guess. This is Grand Central Station for the City of Dublin Gas Department. And even this morning, we're taping this on a Monday morning, even though we've met a few times, and like I said, you've educated me, but things are hopping around here.
Yeah, very much so. The City of Dublin natural gas system is an expansive system, and we've got a lot of replacement going on at this point in time. Contract crews are on site in Edgewood subdivision, and they're replacing about 5.5 miles of bare steel. So I've got my crews, 13 men, and I've also got a crew of about 10 in that area doing the work. So yeah, we're busy. Yeah.
Well, one thing I can tell you, and to tell y'all, people that are watching us, I feel so comfortable riding around the city of Dublin. I feel very safe because gas is a very dangerous product, isn't it?
Very much so. Yes, it is. And our goal is to keep the gas in the pipe. Simple philosophy, but that's what we're here for.
I like that idea. Because, you know, gas, like I have gas logs at home, a lot of times you don't even smell it if you don't have a carbon monoxide. I know there is a particular odor, but sometimes you may not even smell the gas leaking.
Well, you should. We odorize at all 3 of our take points, and we do monthly checks on our what we consider our dead end sections, our extremities of the system, and we make sure that the levels are detectable by human sense, and we're required to by federal law.
When you ride by like one of the gas companies in town, you smell that strong odor. Is that the odor you're smelling or the gas you're smelling?
It's actually the odor you're smelling. Methane, which is natural gas, is odorless and colorless, and we have to inject some type of odor in it so you can smell it if it does leak out. Propane has their own type, and I'm not sure the name of it, but we use mercaptan, and it is a sulfur-based solution that is injected into the pipe at a ratio to keep it detectable basically to the human scent.
And one thing I've learned is the City of Dublin Natural Gas Department is not just a natural gas department in the City of Dublin.
That is correct.
You run from here to Milledgeville to Timbuktu, don't you? Tell me how many miles of gas line.
Many miles total. We actually just got through doing our 7100 report, which is sent to the federal government, and we do it on an annual basis. And we have, I believe it was 287 miles of gas main in our system at this point. We cover 3 counties, Milledgeville, which is Baldwin County. We're about 3 miles into it. Through Wilkinson County, we pick up Irwinton and portions of McIntyre, come into Dublin on the north end, feed Dublin, cross the river bridge and go into East Dublin, and we feed a lot of the extremities there. We feed Griffin Industries. We pick up several industries. We also feed Southeast Paper. But Southeast Paper comes off of our Rents take point, which is about a 19-mile line that comes out of Rents. It's on the, I believe it's the west side of Rents off Taylor Grocery Road. And we come in under the river, feed them on that leg, and it actually loops back around and ties in on Nathaniel and feeds back through East Dublin. And we also have one in Dexter, and that's out on Hill Bridge Road. And it comes through down Hill Bridge, down 257, turns and goes down Pine Hill, and then comes back into the city and feeds into a 3-way loop system, which is the Milledgeville, Dexter, and Rents line. Feed a 120-pound loop that basically feeds the distribution system in our town, which is the 20-pound system, which is what we cut to send to the houses. And when we get to the houses, we cut the pressure again to get it to whatever the customer requires, usually a quarter of a pound, 7 inches on the water column. But there are some applications where we put 2 pounds and 5 pounds.
Now, when did this take place? I mean, how long does this date back, the City of Dublin reaching out to all these points?
Well, initially, 1950s, I think it was 51 or 52, the City of Dublin and City Council decided to pick up the tap line that come through Milledgeville, on the south end of Milledgeville, and bring a 6-inch line into Dublin to feed the City of Dublin, East Dublin. 1966, I believe, yes, 66, 67, the project in Dexter come through, and that was the Brunswick Line. So we tapped onto it to give us a redundant feed in case something was to happen to the Milledgeville line. And then in 1987, I believe it was, when Southeast Paper decided to expand their facilities out there and put in the gas turbine and the boilers and everything they put in, they paid for the line to be installed from Rents, picked up that take point, and through the, I think, a 10-year program, we took over the maintenance and everything, and now the line officially belongs to Dublin.
Man. And now we've got a new bypass coming around, not all the way around, but we have this new bypass, 441 bypass. What about new businesses going there? Are we ready for those businesses when it comes to gas?
In most locations, yes. We really don't follow the bypass itself. We come into North Dublin through, I guess you would say, the tie-in to the old 441, and we come back into town there. We don't have anything between there and basically Claxondary, but we do have Live Oak, which is at the Claxondary intersection. Mm-hmm. You move forward a little further, we do have gas at Walmart, which would be the following intersection, and we have gas at Garner-Dommy Road, which would be the intersection of 80 and the bypass. And then as you go along, we're down at 257 near YKK, and we're also on 441 South.
So you don't work part-time, right?
No, sir. Full-time job, 24/7.
I already knew the answer to that, watching this guy work the last 3 or 4 weeks, but because I kept talking to Michael Clay about you, and you was just this abstract being. I never could find out who you were. I knew the name, Wade Sharp. Wade, who is this guy? I said, Michael, does he really work here? He said, oh, James, he works. He works, but you was always moving in the opposite direction. So.
Well, when you have as many miles of pipeline as we do,
yeah,
customers, 4,000 customers, service lines. We're running about 25 to 2,800 customers right now. But we have 4,000 service lines, and you have to maintain those lines. You have to call for customer, installs and pilot lights and things of that nature. So it's a demanding job. I've got 13 employees total, including myself, and everybody's highly qualified. We have over 100 years experience in our department in dealing with natural gas. We go through regular training requirements. I have full confidence that we are one of the top gas systems in the state.
Boy, do y'all train. Let me tell you, that's one thing I've learned. Training and education is important in any job. But training, just like if you hired a new guy today, he's not going out and working on them gas lines.
No, he is actually allowed to go out, but he's not allowed to perform any covered tasks. Mm-hmm. Basically, under our operator qualification system, and the federal government come up with this back in the late 90s, that every operator of a gas system, the people that work on the lines must be qualified on certain tasks that are performed on the pipeline. There are about 108, but I think we only include 96 in ours because some of it is stuff we don't have in our system. But all my guys are, qualified initially. Of course, they got to come out and get experience in the field, get comfortable around working with live gas, get comfortable with the experience of knowing how to maintain the system and what needs to be done and the procedures that have to be followed. And once, 6 to 8 months in, if you feel as though they've got a fine grasp of the basics of natural gas, then you start giving the qualification procedures. You start testing them on the smaller things, such as cutting on and off a valve and threading pipe. And as they grow in the process, year and a half, you start giving them the finer, the more intricate qualifications, which would be like setting a regulator, which is very important, making sure that the pressure's right, hanging meter sets, and things that, of that nature.
Right.
But, they go out and they're experienced. They gain in the field experience before we allow them to qualify and before we allow them to perform a covered function on our pipelines.
Yeah, and you want them to be trained, but this is a life and death situation, a lot of things. Without
a doubt, safety is our utmost importance. You ask any of my guys, their first priority is protect life and property, including their own. But, we're trained on that. We have a lot of safety factors and safety procedures put in place. We wear FR uniforms, which is basically flame retardant. We have jumpsuits that give us a level of protection that buys them, some time if there was to be an ignition of gas to get out of the hole in a safe manner and not sustain severe burns or any injuries. So.
And one thing I found out, you hear comments, people around town, usually from people like me that don't know what they're talking about, but you'll see 3 people working somewhere around the city. There's one guy digging in a ditch. There's 2 guys standing there. And of course, until the last month, when I finally got educated and realized what's going on, but there's a purpose for that, aren't there?
There definitely is. First of all, when you're working with natural gas, you want to expose as few people as possible to the dangers. And again, we have our guys in their personal protective equipment. We have them in the hole, but there's a guy in the hole performing a function. There's 2 men on top of the hill, usually one to help supply tools and materials as needed, and the other to be there with a fire extinguisher in case there is an issue. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of threefold. They're all there to relieve each other if need be, but you've got a man in the hole that's performing the job, and you've got 2 men above him making sure that he is safe.
Amen. And back to safety, Wade. A life, a human life, a precious life.
Without a doubt.
Hey, I say put another man if that's what it takes.
Amen. Amen.
You think about that. And another thing, And those of you watching right now and say, well, this don't even affect me. I don't have natural gas. Now, another thing I've learned, Wade, is along these gas lines, even if I don't have natural gas with the city of Dublin, along those long 200 and whatever miles you mentioned, it still affects me because I'm close to that line. Those people are important to you, I know, and you go out and check these lines every year, so many miles a year. Plus, if I go out and start digging without calling you, and and all of a sudden I hit a gas line, it's Katie bar the door, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's federal requirements. We obviously leak survey our system on a 3-year cycle, and we just finished up one, the section 1, which would be North Dublin, and good results. We've a few leaks here and there. They're minimal, and basically at this point in time, I think 75% of them have been repaired, and we finished the leak survey in December. So we're right behind them, making sure that they're corrected and any issues that are there are taken out and repaired. But yeah, we'd like to educate the people who live up along our gas lines. Public awareness program, which was put in by the feds in 2007, I believe it was, RP 1162, requires that the city of Dublin or any natural gas provider educate all citizens that live along the pipelines within 220 yards, I believe is actually what the law says. So we have a public awareness program that we try to get out and send letters to all of our, not only customers, but our non-customers along our pipeline. We put up signs, we advertise on TV 35, we put advertisements in the paper. It's an extensive plan. It's something that we've been working on diligently here, and I think we've had a lot of success here lately with it. Obviously, we have to gauge our success by our customers' reactions, and annually we have to do an inspection, a survey of our system. Actually, it's every 4 years. We do an internal survey every year and decide if we're following protocol and if we feel like we're getting the results and if there's any changes that need to be done to the public awareness plan. But every 4 years, we have to do an independent third-party survey, and they will call the residents in Dublin, actually in Lawrence County, Wilkes County, and Baldwin, because we are in all 3 counties. And they ask the questions, and they're simple questions. And do you know who your provider is? Do you know how to react when you smell gas? Do you know what it smells like? Do you know to leave the house and not turn any switches when you have gas leaking inside? And things of that nature. So it's really key and important that all citizens, if you do receive a phone call every 4 years, I believe last year we finally got our 4-year done in 2014. So it'll be 2018 before the next one comes along. But if you will, please, if you get the call, answer the call and give them some honest questions, because it's how we gauge how we're doing our job.
Amen. And back to safety. Y'all gonna hear that over and over as we talk, because that is so important. And we as human beings, we hate surveys, Wade. I mean, a lot of us, and I say us, I'm talking about myself, we don't want to answer that call. We want to hang up. We don't want to fill it out. But this is so, we can't make light of this. This is so important, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, it's the lifeblood of this department. We want to make sure that all our citizens, again, our number 1 priority is to protect life and property. And that goes in hand with our public awareness program, our emergency training with emergency responders. We have to do liaison, and we basically meet with all the emergency responders in our community, in our territories. Like I said, we're 3 counties. There's 28 rural fire departments in them 3 counties. We have to meet with them, train them on how to react to natural gas, give them our information, our emergency manual, all the contact numbers for us, the railroads, the DOT, anybody who could be involved, the Forestry Commission of any type of gas emergency. We're doing hand-to-hand training with those. We have to educate our public officials, which is the mayor, city councils, county administrator, and everybody of that nature in all 3 counties. So it's a full-time job on the compliance side. Luckily, I've been blessed to have Sean Wood come on board with us. He is my gas compliance officer, and I got him last year, and he has really helped me tune our plan to be sure that we're covering our bases. I think we were before, but he's come up with some real good programs and ideas that's actually helped gel together and bring it to a little better place than where it was.
You got a good one there, don't you?
I got a good one there. I'm blessed to have it.
Yeah, and I want to stay on this digging for a moment, because a lot of us, and I've lived in my home for many years, and I feel like I know where every line, everything runs to here and there. But this past year, I was digging in my yard, and thank goodness I just scraped. It was electrical, just scraped the top. I said, "What is that?" Well, I don't know that yard good as I thought I did. What do we do before we dig?
First thing you should do anytime you're going to do any excavation, in your own yard, private property, in your backyard, build a pool, set a mailbox or any type of, build a flower bed.
Amen.
Call 811. It is the Georgia One Call Center. It's a simple phone call, takes 5 minutes. You call in, you tell them what you're going to do. They'll notify all the utilities that are in that area. And give them 24 hours, 48 hours, excuse me. They have 2 days to come out and locate everything. And what they'll do is they'll come out and they'll mark the facilities that are in your yard. That way, when you begin doing your excavation, you at least have a good idea of where they are and you have a less chance of doing any damage to it.
Oh, that is great. Great advice. I take heed of that. You keep mentioning lines, and I've seen y'all for years, seem like, working all over the city of Dublin and here to Milledgeville. I know when they 4-lane the road up there. You talk about line, gas line. Back up when all them years ago in the 50s or whatever we started this, what kind of line, what's it made out of?
Well, the initial line that we put in, the high pressure lines have to be of a solid steel. But when you get into a low pressure situation, which is in the 50 to below range, 50 pounds, 50 PSI, you're allowed to use different type materials. And back in the 50s, they used cast iron. It was a quality product at the time. It was what they had. It was inexpensive. But through years of use and being in the ground, it actually starts to deteriorate and breaks down. It's called graphitization. And what graphitization does is cause cast iron to become a brittle piece of material that basically the freezing of the ground, the changing of temperatures can cause it to crack. The city of Dublin was, I believe, 49 miles in the original projects when we first put this in 52, 53 was cast iron. So since then, the federal government, the Public Service Administration and PHMSA come up with a mandate that all cast iron in every system should be taken out by, I think it was 2010. The city of Dublin, I think back in, I hired on 02 and we were working on it then. I think back in the early 90s we started a plan and program, late early 90s, to start taking it out. And I was through that process when I was in the engineering department of inspecting basically, I'd say 50% of the relocation and replacement. So we've replaced all that cast iron, 49 miles out of our system. It's all been replaced now with the new polyethylene pipe.
Somebody's been working.
Safer. It's been a productive job. Well, anytime you have a system such as ours, you must spend a lot of time maintaining it. It is part of the process. I mean, as always, with growth, you have to expand, and with changes in material types, you have to replace. So we're in the process now. We have bare steel in our system. It's basically steel pipe that was installed. It's a low pressure steel, but it has, when you put it in back in the 40s and 50s, it should have had. They didn't know that you had to coat it to keep electrolysis from actually causing it to deteriorate and get. So there was some that was installed back in the 50s and 60s that we have in our system. It's been cathodically protected, but even through time with a DC current protection that we put on it, it deteriorates. And, we're seeing minimal leaks. I think we had 2 small grade 3 leaks, which is basically a non-hazardous leak, on a leak survey this year on some bare steel. And they were corrosion type, which means that basically the pipe has started deteriorating, and we've replaced them. So we're in the process now. We've basically went out and looked at our system, done a survey, decided where are our bare steel areas, and have implemented a program to start removing them. The Edgewood project that started basically in December and should be through about April is 5.68 miles of bare steel. It's cathodically protected. It's the 99% of it's in great shape, but the federal government required that anything that was not coated, that was bare, must be removed. So we're in the process now with the contractor. Harrison out of Athens come in as a low bid, and they're in Edgewood right now in that area, replacing 5.68 miles of bare steel.
Jeez.
Now we, as the gas department, are required also, based upon our distribution integrity management plan, to take out a minimum 1 mile a year. So, we're removing it annually as we go along through our forces, with our, using our material and our forces. But, we're luckily through the SPLOST fund, we've had some money to be able to go in and replace larger sections and be able to get a little bit more of a head start, get it out of the system. And right now we're taking out that section, and we should have about 10 miles left at the end of the year.
Okay. If you hadn't figured out already, you're getting a good deal with the City of Dublin Gas Department. You stay with us. We hadn't even scratched the surface yet. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and continue our conversation with Wade Sharp. He is the superintendent of the City of Dublin Natural Gas Department. Welcome back, everybody. And, continuing our conversation with Wade Sharp here with City of Dublin Natural Gas, one thing I've learned, too, gas is very inexpensive compared to other forms of power.
You're absolutely correct. Back 10, 15 years ago, natural gas was a very volatile market. It's a commodity that's basically traded on the stock market, and because of the fact that there was such a very small supply, the price actually fluctuated up in the high $4 and $5 and $7, $8 range because of demand. During the wintertime, obviously demand goes up, people want to be warm and run natural gas, but you had restrictions on the flow lines, and you had restrictions in the amount of gas that was able to be pulled out of the ground. Well, through hydraulic fracturing, which is a technology that's been developed here in the last 10, 12 years, they've actually been able to go into a single wellhead and drill out in several different directions and hydraulically fracture the bedrock, releasing the natural gas, which basically give us a better opportunity to bring gas to the market, and also give us a larger supply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, I think I looked 25%. I guess 25. It's more than 25. It's less than half, isn't it?
It is right now with the market the way it is, as far as comparable as heat energy values to electricity. I believe we're doing. If you want to compare it to a kilowatt hour, if you buy electricity and you're heating with electricity, you're paying around 11.5 to 12 cents a kilowatt hour. If you're using natural gas with the market the way it is currently and how it's been holding, you're around 4.5 to 6 cents.
Wow.
So
that
you're
is
50%.
That is
cheaper.
Great, yeah. And of course, the programs we got going now through the city of Dublin, if you got an old electric hot water heater or even old gas or propane hot water heater, tell me about some of the programs we got going on.
The city of Dublin right now has several programs. We have the Main Street financing, which actually will help you if you go in and want to retool your house, take out your electric and go with natural gas. You can finance the cost of your units up to $5,000. And that will be interest-free for 5 years, billed by the city of Dublin with a $3 a month service charge. So it's a great deal there. We also are giving rebates on tank and tankless hot water heaters to anybody who converts. $400 for tankless, $200 for a tank. And recently, the Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia has come up with some additional funding that has allowed us to purchase and pay for a tank hot water heater for any individual who wants to convert over to natural gas. So if anybody wants a free 40-gallon hot water heater, give us a call. You have to pay your contractor to come in and do the installation of the piping, but the city of Dublin will run the service at a nominal fee and install you can get the hot water heater installed, and we'll actually reimburse you for the hot water heater. So give us a call.
And I met some of those folks the other night. MGAG am I?
MGAG, that's the acronym for the Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia.
Okay. Yeah, when I first heard that term, I was, well, what is that? Well, I got to put a face with MGAG the other night. They work very hard. They're very important to our local gas department, aren't they?
Our local and pretty much all municipality gas departments. They are basically, it's a municipal association. All the gas systems in the state that are owned by the cities. The Gas Authority come on as a nonprofit organization to help us promote, obviously, the use of natural gas, but the public awareness side, the OQ qualification side, and help really try and, I guess the best word I'm looking for is centralize the communications between the cities on how natural gas systems operate.
And only about 48%, I think, of the people that are eligible to use gas use it. So that's only half of the market, half of the people we're talking to now. And we're talking about it's cheaper. In a lot of cases, the city of Dublin, through these Main Street programs and things, will help us, 0% up to 60 months. Just tack it on your gas bill and pay it along with your gas bill. They're giving free hot water heaters in some programs or rebates. With all that said, Wade, why isn't it 100%? I mean, you save money. You're even giving me things in a lot of cases. What's the problem here?
It's a good question. I think it's just the fact that the market, a lot of people nowadays, the promotion has been good from the electrical side. They've actually promoted theirs well. I think that the gas systems are coming on board now and promoting gas a little better because it is more economical. It's more efficient. It's safer. It's cheaper. But I think the fact that, back in the 40s and 50s, the older generation really enjoyed natural gas heat, and they understood it. I think the new generation really is more of an electric type generation. They don't understand that natural gas is a better heat. It's a cheaper heat. Because any of us who have a heat pump obviously know you don't get heat out until your heat strips come on. And that's Other than that, you're just pumping cool air in the house.
You're going to be cold for a
If you
while.
want real heat, you go natural gas, get you fire logs, or get you a gas pack furnace, and you'll have real heat coming out of your system. And again, it's more economical, it's cheaper, and it's just as safe as electricity.
Yeah, it is so much cheaper. And these cold winters, last winter was really, really cold. One of the coldest I remember in a while. But those gas logs, you warm quick, you know, and it is cheaper. The gas is much cheaper. And just think, you know, if somebody's sitting at home right now and you've been having to put up with that heat unit that don't work good, that heat pump or whatever, because let's be frank, Wade, it's tough. You know, a lot of us don't have the money. I don't have the money, but to be able to get it and replace my heat pump, replace my hot water heater, or whatever the appliance may be, and I don't have to pay for it. Y'all write the check.
Yeah.
That's just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, I love that.
It's a great deal, and again, our goal is to pick up 100% of our customers along our pipeline. You know, with advertisements and with education, I think that's a reachable goal in the future.
And I think very obtainable. And anybody listening, pick up the phone. The number's right there on the screen. We're putting it on the screen as we talk here today, and we're going to go out in a little while and watch some of the things going on around the city. So I'm looking forward to that. But just call that number right now, you know, and get them out there. I mean, it really is you don't have to go through as far as a bank or anything. The city of Dublin takes the application. Michael Clay approves it. I've watched him sit there and approve things, you know. And if you're a good customer, you've been with the city of Dublin, and you pay your bill, and I mean that's really all we want in it.
Exactly. And it's a simple process. Just call the number on the screen, and Michael has the application forms you fill out. We do a background check, and then once it's approved, you know, you call your contractor and get your unit installed. Next week, you'll have real heat and good hot water.
Man, that is.
And be saving money at the same time.
And see I like that part. I'm a tightwad. You know, and when you're talking about, you said a while ago, 50%. You're talking about 12, 13 watt kilowatt hour compared to 4 to 6. And no matter if you own a business, it's not just individuals, it's businesses, it's anywhere.
It's anywhere. And we have, like I said, we have gas, you know, customers all over Lawrence County, Baldwin County, Irwinton, McIntyre. I mean, these people are taking advantage of the lower prices of natural gas, and basically the supply for 100 years will supply the United States based upon what their estimates are right now. So natural gas is here. It's here to stay. It's economical. It's safe. I mean, there's no downside to it.
Yeah. And I don't know, and I study body language. I don't know if I've ever shared that with you. Interviewing people, body language is important to me. I like to know if my guest is still staying with me. But if y'all have noticed, Wade, now we were talking serious stuff a while ago. You know, we're talking about safety and the gas lines and all, but when we start talking about saving people money, you start smiling.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm passionate about my job. I really love what I do. I'm blessed to be the gas superintendent of the city of Dublin, and blessed to have some great people working for me. And, you know, I take everything that we do seriously because lives are at stake. We need to run the most economic, most safest quality system we can. And my job as gas superintendent is to be sure that we are.
And people are, any business, Wade, people are everything. And watching you work with your people out here this morning and the last, I guess, month or so, I know you can't brag enough. And you talked about the compliance officer. Go down the list and tell me what some of the other people do.
Our supervisor, which is a crew leader, actually shop supervisor, is Brad Grimes. He's been here, I think, 16 years, might be 17.
He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing. He started at the bottom. He started in the hole with a shovel and worked his way up to operator, and then worked his way up to crew leader, and then worked his way up to supervisor. So he's been a big help since I come down here. He leads our people on a daily basis, and he makes sure that the work's being done properly. We've got Richard Scott. He's been with us, I think, about 15 years. He's an operator and a crew leader. He runs one of the crews. I've got several equipment operators. Jamie Sanders, been with us about 3 years now. Matt Slaughter, been about 3 years now. Matt Lewis, he's an equipment operator. He's been here about 3.5, 4. So on top of that, we've got Sammy Daniels. He's been here approximately, I would say, 15, 16 years. I've got a new gentleman I hired, Chris Stanley. He's in that 6-month period, and we're still taking him out in the field and teaching him things that need to be done. Eric Cates has probably been with us about 2 years. He's a good employee. I've also, as a gas department, we also run the locating department for the whole city, which is water, sewer, gas, and fiber. And I got a gentleman by the name of Terry Myers, who's probably been with us about 5 years, but he's got about 26 years of experience in underground utility locates with several different companies, but mostly he did all the AT&T. And I brought him on board because his knowledge of the system in Dublin. He knew our gas lines, he knew the water, he knows the telephone, he knows everything. So we've got some good experienced people in here. I hope I hadn't forgotten
Well,
anybody.
one I want you to talk about, you've done good. That's the thing about when I put you on the spot, going through names, but this sweet young lady, when I walk in the door up here, now she's a worker.
Without a doubt. Miss
She
Yvonne
is.
Baker, without her, I would be lost.
Yes, I agree.
And I'm lost already
Yeah.
by myself. But she tries to keep me organized and keep me on point. She keeps up with my schedule. She helps us with our public awareness. She answers phone calls. She also covers, since our department is kind of a joint effort on phone calls, we answer the public works department calls for any street issues, water and sewer, gas. So we're a multitude of departments in one here. We do a lot to help our other departments and cover them. But she does a great job. She's here all the time. You can count on her. If you have any questions, you can call her, and she's been a godsend also.
Yeah, she's definitely a good one, and she's multitasked, to say the least.
She's multitasked, to say the least. And she's come to learn to adapt to me, because I'm kind of a hyperactive type person.
Yeah.
I'm kind of into a lot of things at the time, and she keeps me straight. She keeps me grounded.
And talking about phone calls, gas lines, if we smell a leak, it's not just a 8-hour telephone.
No.
I mean, we're talking about 24-hour days, 7 days a week. If I need help, I can call that number, can I?
That's correct. That number is 277-5050. Our shop number is 277-5048. If you call that number after hours, it will roll over to the water plant. But the water plant has basically got someone on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that's at the plant. And they're our emergency contacts. They receive calls. They're also qualified. They're trained on, how to respond to gas leaks, the questions to ask, what to tell the customers. We also OQ our meter readers. They're responsible for cutting on and off meters. You're not allowed to touch a part of the gas system of Dublin if you're not qualified. So we bring them in on an annual basis and train them on turning the meters on and off, how to lock them, how to proof and spot the meter to make sure it's working, make sure there's no leaks on the inside when you do cut it on. So, this is as I said, this is a multifunctional department. We do several, we back up and help other departments, and we also have people in other departments that back up and help us. So, but yeah, again, like you said, I can't heap enough praise on the people I have that work for me.
And throughout the city, now we're talking about the gas department, but even throughout the city, other city departments, like I'll see a house fire, and the fire department's out there, but yet I see a city of gas truck racing to the scene out there. Tell me about that.
Well, what it normally is when there's a house fire, usually it's a grease fire, an electrical, and we have gas meters at these homes, and we want to be sure that if there is a fire, that we go out and shut the supply of gas off inside the house, because again, the lines can rupture inside after the fire with the heat and catch on fire. Now, the firefighters are qualified also to shut off the gas mains and the meters and the risers. But we go out to back up our fire department to be sure that everything on the gas side is safe while they fight the fire. And the fire department themselves, like I said, we go through liaison training with them. They know us, we know them. We've got some protocols that we follow together. They've been trained on theirs and we've been trained on ours. But as soon as again, anytime there's an incident or a fire department is in total control. They assume incident command. We are there just to help advise on the gas.
Work together.
Work together.
Yeah, that's what teamwork is.
Exactly.
And not just city of Dublin. Looking at these maps on the wall of all them 200-something miles you mentioned earlier, and I noticed the other day we were visiting, and one of the books, one of the many books you've got around here where you document stuff, you had all these lines, you had every police chief and fire chief and city manager. I'm talking about McIntyre and Irvington, Nicholsville, and East Dublin, all the little nooks and crannies, and you've got everything in there.
We do, and it's our responsibility, since we operate a system in these counties and these cities, to be sure that all the public officials and emergency responders are aware of our system, and that we have contact information to be able to get in touch with them if there is an emergency.
And you train them in a timely basis, don't you?
We do. We try, we give them enough information about our emergency manual to let them know what our operations are. Usually public officials don't work on our lines, but they're aware that they're there, and we want them to know they're there, and we want them to educate their people and their citizens that City of Dublin Natural Gas is there, and if you smell gas, here's the number to call, and how to react, respond to it, and so that everybody is comfortable knowing that there is a gas system in place and that you have people that are qualified and trained to come up and operate it and maintain it.
Have you figured out this guy knows what he's talking about? You have really, I know you've educated people watching today, but these last month and a half, we've been visiting here and there. I've learned so much about what y'all do, and I really, on behalf of the community, I appreciate what y'all do and the time you put in, and because you work just about any time. I mean, you may work all day, you may get called in tonight, but somebody's on call from this gas department 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, aren't they?
That is correct. And it's a qualified person. He's been through all the training. He knows how to handle emergency situations, and he has, technically, we're all on call. My whole department is a 24/7 on-call basis if needed.
It's not a temp service, is it?
It's not a temp service. No, when you maintain a gas system, you are, and we want to be responsible to our public and to our citizens and make sure that, the public's aware of what we have and what we can do. And there's programs out there, for training. We're looking at, updating that, trying to go to schools and teach the kids a little. And, there's a lot that on the side that we try to do to try and make sure that our community knows we're here and that they're a part of it, that we appreciate their business. We appreciate them, being here and helping us and using gas.
That's right. Yeah, we do, don't we? And want more people to use it.
Want more people to use it.
Okay, we're going to take another break. We'll be back in just a moment. Okay, Wade, and I've been filming you over here doing something. What's going on? We're on Franklin Street.
Yeah, this is the Franklin Street regulator station. It's where the gas from Milledgeville comes in, is taken from a 285 pressure and cut down to 120 to fill that 120 loop, which is then cut to 20. And we come out here and we smelled detected a hint of gas, natural gas odor. And what I'm doing, basically you saw there, was taking soap and water. It's a simple process. Spray it down and it'll bubble if there's a leak. Weren't able to find anything on it. I think what we have possibly is this is a relief apparatus. This protects the 120-pound system, which is what we call the downstream, from the upstream, which is the 285. If the pressure gets above the set point on that relief, it will relieve the gas out in the stack to where the system doesn't get overpressurized downstream. So I think what we have is maybe a weep on that, which is something that's obviously easy to repair. And I've got my specialist coming out right now, Josh Lloyd, to come out and take a look at it and see if we can find out what's the cause.
Okay, tell us where we at now. We're coming up. We come off 441. We just left Franklin, come up here, and I see a lot of, somebody been digging here, a lot of this, tell me the kind of pipe again.
Polyethylene.
Polyethylene.
PE is what we call it.
Okay.
Okay, what we're looking at here is this is part of the Edgewood project we talked about earlier with replacing 5.5 miles of bare steel pipe. This is a section where the contractor, Harrison out of Athens, has come in and started hydraulically directional drilling. And what that is an installation method that uses a directional drill machine that they put the pipe in the ground at a certain depth and can monitor the location of the pipe. It allows us to come into these existing territories and install pipe and replace pipe with minimal damage to people's yard without having to come in and dig it up and cut trenches and everything of that nature. So what we've got here is probably a 600-foot directional drill bore at the corner of Pinewood and Brookdale. Contractor came in and he set up his unit and on the 441 side of on Brookwood and started his drill and come up the hill, down through the bottom of the creek, under the culvert pipe, up the hill to this intersection and installed a piece of polyethylene pipe. And what we do with that is we come back in after the fact when he gets all this replaced, we'll come in and make a tie-in and put gas on this and start tying services over to the new pipeline.
How deep is this?
Actually, if you look at the edge of the road, every 50 foot, we required him to give us a depth measurement.
Okay, that's what all that writing is, huh?
That tells you exactly where he was at and how deep he was at the location. And what it allows us to do is to come back and map this. He's supposed to give us what he call as-built drawings. When the project's completed, he'll give us a set of plans, and we'll come out on this road, and let's say I have a need to put a service in here. I can go back to his drawings and come to this address here, look at the road and decide, what side we want to run the line to. And I can come out here and basically tell you, based upon my drawings, that this line is 5 foot off the back of the curb and 3.5 foot deep. So I'll know how deep I'm going to have to dig and what type of material I'm dealing with and how I need to make this service tie-in to this house. So if you look back here behind us, he has a pressure gauge installed on this pipeline. Now, this is actually just a temporary test for him to know that the line is not leaking. What we'll do is when he comes to gas this pipe up, he will come out here and he will tie everything together, because you see this line is not tied in yet. This is actually the run that's on Pinewood. Okay. He will have to come back in here and dig up the existing one that he put in on Brookdale and install a T and tie this line into that line instead of valve, in a valve cluster, so we'll be able to turn valves and run gas in certain directions if we have to. But he'll come back and put a pressure test on here with a pressure test chart. And that chart will monitor it for 24 hours. It can't rise or fall. And if it does rise or fall, it must come back to a full circle. So we know all our line integrities are excellent. Everything that's installed has no leaks. And we start out with a good, clean system, and the pipe gas is in the pipeline.
Okay, you brought me over here in front of Hillcrest School. Now, what's going on? What's these guys doing?
James, what we have here is a contractor, Harrison out of Athens. Down here, they're doing what we call a process of potholing the existing utilities. And what that is before they directional drill this road and get the new pipe in, they're going and finding all the existing utilities that are in the roadway to get the actual depth, so that when they come across, they do not do any damages to the utilities that are existing.
Okay, and we just come from 441. We looked at that. This is the same company doing all this, right?
That is correct. This is part of what I call the Edgewood area steel replacement project, and this is just one section of it. It's 5.5 miles, and all this line is being installed through the hydraulic directional drilling method, and which road crossings, obviously you got to cross utilities, and in yards we have to pothole the sewer lines and the water lines and make sure we don't damage those in the process.
You know, one thing I'm noticing, it's really not a problem for the homeowners. You're not destroying really any property. You're thinking about that ahead of time, right?
Oh, exactly. Yes, we plan every drill. We try to make sure that when you have long sections, you basically can only drill around 400 to 800 feet roughly, and depending on the soil conditions, sometimes it's hard. You really can't get that much in. So we try and plan it to where when we come up and basically do tie-ins, we can't do full-on mile runs. We do short sections. We try to do these tie-ins in the least conspicuous location, obviously in the yards of our gas customers, because we don't want to disturb anybody's yard that doesn't have gas if we don't have to. We pre-plan this. We look at the routes we're taking. There's a lot of engineering design. There's a lot of thought and process goes into the design of these replacement projects, and we try to consider our customers and our property owners when we do the design work.
So every time they find something, you're taking out a little piece of this asphalt here. Is that what's going on?
That's correct. We take it out, we excavate down to the location of the utility, and what they'll do is they'll put a paint mark on the side that gives them the depth. Let's say this line is 3 foot deep. They'll put 36 inches. And then they'll fill the hole back in and put this temporary back together. At the end of the project, we will come back and all these cutouts will be resaw cut, recompacted, and new asphalt placed back in them.
Okay, Wade, you got me down. We're over here at Linda Vista now. You got me down in this hole. I didn't know you were going to work me today.
Well, I figured I'd get something out of you.
Yeah, might as well. Okay, now y'all actually was out inspecting pipes, found a leak here, right?
Yeah, this was part of our leak survey. We did what we consider our section 1, which is North Dublin, and it's 441, it's a cut line, and 80, so it's kind of in that northern section. What we did, our leak survey crews come in, we third-party subcontract that out, and they walk these roads and they check for gas leaks that are on the pipeline so we can maintain our system if there's any problems. What we found here is just a valve cluster at the intersection of Brookwood and Shamrock, and these are the old steel valves, and they're basically a steel valve with a seat in them that is actually seals off with grease. And what we have is through time, you're not supposed to grease these things unless you have issues, because you can put grease into the system, which can cause issues with the regulators and meters and things of that nature. So we had a leak on our valves. We dug them up. What we found was it needed grease to continue to seal off. So we injected grease into it, turned the valve, which created our seal again, stopped the leak, and we put what we call grease extensions on them. And these extensions allow us to not have to come back into this hole in the future and dig the line up. What we can do is come back, take the valve boxes, which these are the valve boxes that were in place that were buried on top of these valves. We will reinstall those and repave this. And in the future, when we come back to work on these valves, we'll just take the lid off, put the grease gun on it, put the grease in it, and operate the valve with a valve wrench and get it back functioning, and we won't have to do this type of excavation anymore. Okay,
now going back, we talked earlier, now every year you inspect so many miles of line, And of course, you send 2 guys out. You have a guide,
Yes,
right?
we have a guide that
and
goes
then
with
you
a
have the
contractor.
guy that actually, once the guide tells him where everything is, he actually figures out where, you know, the leaks, checks for the leaks,
He
right?
takes a flame pack, which is a unit that's designed to pick up any minute traces of gas. It'll actually pick up gasoline spilt out of a vehicle and things of that nature. So when they find the leak, they have to do what they call do a bar hole check and locate it. They have to pinpoint the leak, and what they do is they come in and hit, again, a valve box like this is fairly simple. You lift it open and you take your detector, which is a separate detector. It's a CGI, it's a combustible gas indicator, and you check to see what percentage of gas it is, and that's how they grade the leaks. They grade from 1, 2, and 3. 1 is a hazardous leak. It needs immediate repair. And when we find those, we definitely get on them immediately that day and get them fixed. A grade 2 is requires repair within a 6-month time frame, or at least a recheck. If it can buy you 30 days after that point to come back and fix it. So you got 6 months basically to fix a grade 2. A grade 3 leak is just a standard leak that's no hazard to anything, but it's a small leak in the pipeline, and what it does is allow you to buy you 6 to 8 months, 12 months to fix those. Which when our leak survey, again, as I told you earlier in our interview, the leaks that we found, we've got about 75 to 80% of them, I think, at this point in time repaired, and we're working diligently to get the rest of them done. So we feel confident the system integrity is there. You have small issues such as valves. A lot of the things we find are valves where the grease has just gotten dry. We have to come back in and obviously put grease into them, reseat them, and then while we're there, we make life a little simpler on us by installing these grease extensions.
And then once you find the leak, you get people like me with a shovel.
Exactly.
And you bring me over here and make me dig this hole, right?
Exactly, and you did a great job. That equipment didn't do anything. This was all James.
Y'all don't see that back there. Okay, Wade, you got a couple of these signs we're looking at, one out by the hospital. I always wonder what these are.
These are public awareness messages, something we've done and kind of added on as a supplement to what we're required to do to help get the message out that gas is safe and reliable, and what to look for, the smell of gas, the sound of gas, how it smells. And again, on the sign you see sound, hissing or whistling noise, the smell, distinct odor, smells like rotten eggs. And in sight, bubbling or standing water. Another thing is also dead vegetation. Natural gas will starve the oxygen out of the ground. So if you see a dead spot in your green, lush yard and you have no gases in the air, please call us. We'll come out and see if we can determine if there's a leak there or not.
And on the sign, I see Twitter and Facebook, and I've been on y'all's website. Great website, all kind of tips and information. So we've got that on the screen right now and throughout this broadcast. But you got the information out there. It's our fault if we don't grab it.
We hope so. I mean, that's our job, to make sure the public is aware of what needs to be done to be safe around natural gas. If you have it, whether you have it in your home or it's in your neighborhood, be aware. We're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to monitor any leaks. If you smell gas, please don't hesitate. Walk outside. Don't use your inside phone. Take your cell phone. Call the city of Dublin. We'll have somebody over there as soon as possible to do an inside leak investigation or an outside leak investigation. We'll determine where the problem is. We'll locate it and we'll make it safe.
Yep. And don't be like me. Don't dig in your yard.
Please, yes, if you're doing any excavation, please call the 811 center and let them inform us to come out and search our utilities, because the law has changed here recently. Public Service Commission is handing out hefty fines of up to $10,000 for damages to utilities. So you don't want to go through that process. You don't want the hassle, and obviously you don't want to hurt yourself or endanger your family or your house.
Boy, you got me running this morning. We're over on Claxton Dairy. Now this is a major station here, right?
This is one of our distribution regulator stations. There's about 8 or 10 of them in the system, depending on what loops we're feeding. But this one feeds pretty much all of North Dublin, Central Dublin. It's the main hub, and again, we've got one on Decatur. We've got this one here. We've got several of them that interloop. Okay, so all our 20-pound distribution system has a redundant feed. Okay, this is obviously one of the original ones that was put in the 50s. We have one just like it on Brown Road, and we have another one just like it on Decatur Street. Those 3 were the central distribution regulator stations when they first built. Since then, we've added several more that are backfeeding the system in different locations. As we've expanded the system, we've seen a need to get more pressure in certain areas, and we've added more regulator stations in those areas.
And what is this one? How many people does this serve, you think?
Well, it's hard to determine. It serves all of Dublin and East Dublin technically,
Oh, okay.
because all of them work together. We have them looped in together on the 20-pound system. So you've got this one in Decatur, and you got the one on Manning Drive in East Dublin. They're all feeding together
Okay.
on the same system, and basically it covers everybody. So if something went down on two other ones, this one would back up and feed it. So
Well, the one on Franklin now, I know that heads up toward Milledgeville, but if something happened to it, you could switch over. Is that what you're saying?
I'm able to switch over to the Dexter or the Rents line because we have those tie-ins.
Wow.
So, and again, you have to knowing the system, there are several ways we can feed things. If there's an issue in one section, we're allowed to shut it down, do maintenance on it, back feed through other directions, and keep everybody the gas like we're supposed to be.
Okay, and my word of the day, and I want to see what you want to leave us with, but my word of the day is safety. I've figured out the last month, us working on this project, safety is of the utmost importance to Wade Sharp.
It is, and to all our employees. You know, the city of Dublin, we have a safe, reliable gas system. It's been installed since the 50s. We try to do our regular maintenance on it to make sure our customers are satisfied, they have gas when they need it, and that everybody's safe.
Okay, and anything we hadn't talked about?
I think
we've covered a lot.
We've covered a lot of it. We hadn't delved into the regulatory side of it, which is a major portion of what I do with Sean Wood, our compliance officer. But there's a lot of documentation and paperwork that's involved in running these systems. There's a lot of
and you've shared that with me. You know, I've seen that, but believe me, we trust him on that. I was looking at the books when you come in and change things around and post. Y'all document everything.
We do. There's nothing that we do that we don't put on paper because in the long run, we need to be able to show that we are maintaining our system. If there's ever any issue in that area, the Public Service Commission is going to want proof of our maintenance on it and that we have done our jobs as we're required to by federal mandate.
Yeah, and I'll look in some of those books and I'll flip through there and it'll have 403 Broad Street, East Dublin, Class 2 leak, you know, or Clover Street, Class 3 leak or Class 1 leak. And you can go back and look many, many years ago, and you know, like whatever you document today.
Oh yeah, we know the cause of the leak. We know what we did, who worked on the project, the time and the date, what materials were used, the lot numbers that come off the materials. So if there's ever a recall on a material, such as a tap or anything of that nature, we can go back and query our system, pull the information out, and figure out where all those fittings are. If they were required by the manufacturer to be replaced, we can systematically go in and take them out.
Okay, I think we all feel safer. And on behalf of the community, thank you for what you do. You work hard, and we've seen your crew out today, the subcontractors you look over. So y'all do a great job, brother.
Thank you, James. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. And we thank you for joining us today. If you don't feel better about our City of Dublin Gas Department by now, they got to be something wrong. But we figured out a few things. We are safe in Dublin, East Dublin, this whole area, Wilkes County, Baldwin County, and we found out how inexpensive gas is.
That's correct.
So we want them to be a customer, don't we, Wade?
We do. Please give us a call. We'll give you an estimate on what it costs. And like I said, most of the costs are either financeable or rebates that come along with them. So we'd love to have you on our gas system. Give us a call.
Okay, the number's on the screen. Pick it up and call. Thank you so much for joining us today.